I just had this moment, Mandy, where I felt, holy cow, we are about to take this to the next level. It's super exciting, but when you're at that moment when it gets real and when stuff's about to happen, the thing that I'm really thinking about is in order to seize the complete opportunity when the momentum starts to kick in, it's going to require you to change your habits. It is going to require something more of you. What it took for me to build a multi-million-dollar speaking business, that took a certain set of habits. What it's going to take for me to now successfully launch this show, continue the speaking business. We now have a publishing imprint. Yeah. We have a book that we're working on about kick-ass confidence and curing anxiety. I realized that I need to have a level of focus and a level of intentionality that I have not yet cultivated in my life. That there's still that I do, that I put in the way, that was fine when I was operating and achieving at this level, but now I want to go to this level. And so what are those things? Getting up earlier, being a complete hawk about how I'm spending my time and attention. That in the mornings when I'm with my family, literally being hyper-focused on just them so that I'm present with them. And then confession, I'll literally work for like 25 minutes and then the ADD kicks in and then I'll find myself folding laundry for 20 minutes because I allow myself to get distracted. And see, that's the thing about habits and the levels of success that you get to. That when you recognize that jumping to the next level that you want to get to is nothing more than just tweaking your habits a little bit, that it's really that simple, you will start to be able to have quantum leaps. And I'm realizing that I have amazing habits, but they have gotten me to here. And if I want to get to the next level, it's going to require a level of focus and intentionality that I haven't demanded of myself before. No drinking during the week. Being super, super focused on the stuff that's really important. Probably hiring somebody full-time to be a full-time assistant to help me stay organized and focused in terms of scheduling and weeding through all the incoming requests. I think it's just about that, about this sort of like maniacal focus on things that are important. Like now is the time. And what's cool is you can make it happen anytime in your life. Like if there's some jump that you want to make, look, I'm an extraordinarily productive person. I've accomplished a tremendous amount in the last 3 years. But what it's going to take for me to get to the next level and not destroy the people around me with my stress and be an amazing leader and be an amazing mother and be an awesome wife and actually be an incredible businesswoman is a level of focus that I have never required of myself. What's it going to require of you?
I would say that the biggest thing that moving to the West Coast and being 3 hours behind the entire team has already started to make me do the little things. Like sometimes you have to force in place. If you want to work out more, you need a gym buddy that's going to meet you there at 6:30 a.m. and you're going to let them down. That's kind of how I operate. I just need to be forced to make those changes, but definitely it's consistency for me because I notice when I do.
Well, what's the that you do?
Same exact things you do, literally. They are not waking up early enough, going to bed at the same time every single night, being mindful of what I'm putting into my body because that does affect how you operate. I mean, if you put a bunch of junk in, you're going to be slower, you're going to be like drinking is another one of those things. For me, it's overall health, just being mindful of how I'm treating myself so that I'm actually setting myself up for success and I can focus for that long. Because what
would be the next level of managing a team? Because you manage our team.
Yeah.
And we are a lean team. We're ridiculously efficient. Yeah. I mean, what we have going on in May is insane. We have a new course launching. We have, by the way, one of the busiest speaking schedules of professional speakers around. I mean, if you're at the top of your game, professional speaking wise, you're doing anywhere from 75 to 100 speeches a year. That's us. We have the 5-second journal that is back in stock. We have a new book that we're launching in the fall on anxiety and confidence. We have the show launching, a new website launching.
The team management for me. Team management is all about setting everyone up on Monday. So what we used to do is we used to have these big macro conversations. We would be like, okay, we have this big project and this big project and this big project. Everyone just kind of check in. And now we're starting to do micro Monday morning kickoffs. I think meetings are the reason why corporate America gets stuck. I don't believe in them. I think that when you need something to get done, you pick up the phone and you talk to the person that needs to get it done and then you collaborate where necessary. But on Monday mornings, an hour with each team and having everyone talk about what they're actually working on, making sure that we're on the same page is huge.
I have a question.
Yes.
We have decided because we own the company together, the Confidence Project, that we are taking our personal accountability to the next level, that we are demanding more of ourselves because we see the importance in weeding out the little bullshit that's there. And trust me, it's a little bit. I mean, when I look at how I've transformed myself over the last 3 years, I'm an extremely focused and accomplished and successful person. But there's still a little bit better that I can do. And doing a little bit better based on where I'm at is the secret to enjoying what we've created for ourselves.
Totally.
But here's the question. How do we also inspire and support that same level of intentionality bump in our team? Because we're the owners. You know, we know how to inspire people. We know how to make people know that they matter. But given that we're going to demand more of ourselves, what do we need to do in order to have our team feel that they need to do that for themselves too?
I've even noticed a shift in the team's productivity with just 2 weeks of Monday morning meetings where we talk about what are we going to accomplish this week. And for the 2 weeks that we've been doing that, I've felt the entire team elevate their own game even, just because we all know what we're working on. And when people know what and why, the intentionality automatically increases rather than, oh, I could do this. I mean, we're very lucky in that everyone on our team is really autonomous.
Well, then
and
maybe what we should do, I got an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe what we should do is on next Monday's call, we do what we're going to do in this video, which is I want you to think about the areas of your life and your work where you're productive and you're in action. That's fantastic. Keep going. What's the BS?
The one or two things.
What are the one or two things that you need to change? Whether it's getting up a little bit earlier or like me, not drinking during the week.
I have one that I didn't say. I didn't have Wi-Fi on like a 5-hour flight the other day, and I actually got the project stuff done because I didn't have access to social media. I didn't have access to text message. I realized how much happier I felt by not mindlessly scrolling through social media and pretending I'm on a strategy hunt. And I got
What are you doing? What is the commitment? It's one thing to see the insight. What's the commitment? What are you changing? You are a lot younger than me, so you're socially native, but I do see you all day long working and checking social, checking social. What if you were to say, during this 3-hour period, every day, 12 to 3, I turn off social? Whatever, like you pick, that's the thing that's going to be hard, but what would it be for you? Because this is the thing. We can identify what we need to do, but unless you make it specific, you're not doing. So I don't drink Monday through Thursdays. Not going to do it because that's during the week. What I need to get up a half an hour earlier. So instead of 6:15, I need to get up at 5:45. Those two things will make a big difference because they will have a big effect on the rest of my day. What is it for you?
Get up at 6.
Okay.
Instead of 7. I would say no social from like 10:30 to 3:30 because that's
awesome.
That's hyper productivity mode for the whole team. Like everyone's on. I need to get way back into a workout routine that is essential not for my personal accountability, for mental health, for physical health, and it makes me, when I go to the gym, I'm like, I am unstoppable and I can do anything. So those are the 3 things that I could awesome. Tweak about what I'm doing right now.
Gotcha. Back to you. If you were to take your business or your life to the next level, what is 1 or 2 things that you need to remove? The BS that you do, the small tweak that you could make that would increase your focus on actually being able to work on the important stuff. I want you to put it in the comments below. Tell me and tag us. We're doing it. We're going to be documenting it and showing it to you in hopes that it inspires you and helps you make the changes that you need. My night routine is very simple. Complete the day and leave no tasks that I have to finish in the morning. It's that's it. And so it's not necessarily that I have a specific order, but there are particular things that I do. Number 1, totally set up the kids. So that means pack their lunches. It means get the backpacks ready if it's school season and get them by the door. It means if there's any forms that need to be filled out or printed or anything else, if they are printed, they are ready to go. So kids are handled. Second thing, I want the kitchen clean. I don't ever want to wake up in the morning and walk in there and see crap that I have to do. I don't want dishes in the sink. I don't want things on the counter. And so I make sure that the kitchen is clean, that the counters are cleared off, and that there is nothing I need to do in the kitchen because it will distract me in the morning. I will feel guilt. I will feel obligated to get that done. Third thing that I do is I tend to set out the stuff for breakfast. And the reason why I do that is because my kids will wake up at various times, And so if I've got that thing set up, I've just bought myself a couple more minutes of quiet in the morning before the parade of children come running down the stairs, starving and wanting breakfast. The other thing that I do is I go to my computer and I print out the day calendar for the day ahead. And then I take that printout and I take my notebook that has all of my travel and kind of everything that's laid out for the business that I run and my speaking schedule and stuff related to the kids, and I move it all to the kitchen. Now, why am I doing this? I'm doing this so that when I leave my bedroom in the morning and I walk into the kitchen to have 30 minutes of quiet time for myself, to get focused, to plan my priorities, everything's set. It's all been handled. There's no thinking involved. It's amazing. Then, once that's all handled, I turn off all the lights, I lock the front door. When I walk into my bedroom, the very first thing that I do, I set my alarm, and then I plug my phone in my closet. That is the single most important aspect of my evening routine. Everybody gives a shit what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
And so they're on camera or they're on a microphone trying to be smart or concerned about whether or not they look good in the shot, concerned about how they sound, whether or not they stuttered, if their neck is turning red, like whatever it may be. And they're so up here that they're not actually being true to just saying what's right here.
Absolutely.
Whether you're speaking from the heart, speaking from the gut, like that is the skill to develop, is the ability to be more like an 11-year-old that gets on camera and can just be themselves instead of being a 49-year-old person censoring themselves.
Got it.
And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the truth, when I talk about authenticity, that people really want to feel that connection. And the only way that they're going to feel that connection is if you do the work to remove the own veneer and the own barriers that you put in between you and other people. And the number one thing is everybody gives too much of a shit about what everybody else thinks.
Absolutely.
And you know who they think they're worried the most about? Their friends.
Yeah.
If I put this thing up, not for my friends, but for the people that I'm trying to build a rapport with online, my friends are going to judge me. Your friends. Seriously. If you're out to make a difference, if you're out to share something that is important to you, if your friends don't like it or don't support you, they're really not your friends.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, no, definitely makes total sense.
And it's a really hard lesson. It's a very hard lesson because everybody's always judging everybody else. That's why you can't worry about it.
Do you have like recommendations for how people just get started, like from moving from that, like to basically move from their mindset of I care too much to I don't care as much? Like, are there steps that you recommend people take?
The only step that really works is action.
Okay.
Because if you're stopping to think about what people are thinking or whether or not you're worried about what people are thinking, you've already fallen into the trap.
Okay.
The second that you push yourself to get started through the action itself, you are proving to yourself that even though you care what everybody thinks, you're gonna do it anyway.
Okay.
And so that's why I talk about the 5-second rule. The 5-second rule is how you interrupt the excuses, the patterns, the concerns, and the fears that you have, whether it's perfectionism, whether it's disappointing your parents, whether it's being judged by your friends, whether it's looking stupid when you post something, whether it's screwing up and saying something that a bunch of trolls come after you for, right? All those things that everybody's concerned about, that can stop you forever.
Absolutely.
If you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you break the part of the brain where all of those trappings are, and you awaken your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that you're using when you're creating content, when you're speaking with courage, when you're learning something new. And so that's why this simple brain trick that I invented is exploding around the world, because every last one of us is exactly the same. Exactly the same. You and I, we want the same thing. We want to actually live a life where we get to express ourselves at the highest level. We're all want the same thing, and we're all stopping ourselves the same way, by thinking too much, by buying into the lies that self-doubt tells you. And so I'm here to tell you, you can cut that off at the knees. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you can make a 5-second decision. The second you feel that doubt, the second you feel that concern, the second you feel that fear, and you can literally feel it and actually move anyway.
If you want to change your life, it begins right here every single morning. There is a powerful skill that I want you to learn. It's simple, it's not easy, and here it is. When that alarm rings, you have got to get out of bed. Look, I know there's a million reasons not to get out of bed. Right now, this morning, I can think of a bunch. It's 40 degrees, raining, disgusting, cold, depressing outside. I feel tired. My bones feel heavy. I have a lot of work to do, and it's stressing me out a little bit. None of that stuff matters. The only thing that matters when it comes to changing your life is, can you keep a promise to yourself? Can you keep a promise to yourself when it feels uncomfortable? Can you keep a promise to yourself when suddenly you don't want to? Can you keep a promise to yourself when it'd be easier not to? That is the core skill that you need to change any area of your life. Because change doesn't require motivation, it requires discipline. You need the discipline to do what you said you were going to do. And I want you to think about this. When you set an alarm, setting an alarm the night before is an act of making a promise to yourself. Setting an alarm, which I do, I get up between 6:15 and 6:45 every day. I am making a promise to myself that I am going to get up when that alarm rings. And if I can't keep a promise to myself because I don't feel like it, I'm cranky, I'm not a morning person, whatever the hell your excuse is, you're not going to be able to keep promises to yourself in any area of your life where you feel uncomfortable, where it's easier to avoid conflict, where you succumb to your excuses, where you soothe yourself instead of pushing through. And I mean this. All change happens the same way, with discipline. All change begins with the decision to change. All change begins with making and keeping promises. So regardless of what you're working on, if you're working on boundaries, if you're working on saying no, if you're working on pushing yourself through discomfort, you can start to practice the skill of showing up for yourself no matter what by simply setting the alarm the night before for when the time you actually need to get up. And when that time comes and that alarm rings and it's time to keep that promise, no matter what you're feeling, your number one job is to keep that promise to yourself. You start to practice this skill of setting the alarm and looking at it as a promise that you're making to yourself. And when that alarm rings, not succumbing to your excuses or your feelings of discomfort, but actually getting up and keeping that promise, you start to do that, your whole life will change. And the reason why is all change is the same. It's about making and keeping small promises. And the more that you do it in one area of your life, the easier it's going to be for you to do it in any other area of your life. Trust me, it's exactly how I've changed my life. I started here. Alarm rings, get out of bed, start your day, go.
There are 5 mistakes that everyone makes when they're trying to change their life. And so let me tell you what they are. Number 1, you're waiting to feel ready. Everybody makes the mistake of thinking at some point lightning is going to come through your living room window and strike you in the ass, and suddenly you're going to be motivated to do what you're scared to do. It's not happening. No one's coming. Motivation is garbage because it's never there when you need it. If you can embrace this idea that you're never going to feel like it, you need to do it anyway, it will change your life. And the 5-second rule is the tool you can use, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, to make yourself do it anyway. I don't care that you don't feel like it. Do it anyway. I don't care that you're tired. Do it anyway. I don't care that you don't know how to do it. Do it anyway. When you start to develop that process, you will absolutely change everything about your life. The second mistake that people make when they're trying to change is they spend all their time talking about it instead of doing it. You will never change your life while you're talking about what you're doing. You will change your life while you're listening to experts, while you're taking classes, while you're learning and growing, and while you're taking new actions. Period. End of story. Mistake number 3 that people make when they're trying to change their life is that you think you're an expert in change. The truth is you're a student in it. And so get yourself out of the I know it all mode and get yourself into the I need to learn about what I need to do. I'm a student too. When I want to launch my podcast, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to study the experts. I'm going to copy absolutely everything that they do. And then I'm going to figure out how to make it my own. Do you know how I became the most booked female speaker in the world in 3 years flat? 0 to the best on the planet. I was a diehard student of the experts. I watched what everybody did, and not just what they did on stage. I watched the more important stuff, which is what you do in the relationships when you're not on stage so that you're amazing to work with. What you do so that you're always a student, getting better and better and better and better. If you look at all the pro athletes and the world's greatest musicians that you love, they're not ever stopping the process of learning. They are always students of their art and of their craft and of their sport. The same is true in life. The 4th mistake that everybody makes when they're trying to change is you try to do it alone. Are you kidding me? All the research shows that the hardest way to change is on your own. You need to get into classes. You need to find support groups. You need to get circles of friends, whether they're online or offline or mastermind groups that are with you on this journey of changing. And finally, the 5th mistake that people make when they're trying to change is you're not measuring your progress and you're not celebrating yourself every step of the way. Today is the last day of the year, and today is literally my most favorite day of my life. And here's why. Right now, have you ever considered that you are the oldest that you've ever been? You are the wisest that you've ever been. And that's because you're the most experienced you've ever been. You're the most broken that you've ever been. You're the most loved that you've ever been. And that means that right now you have an incredible opportunity in the palm of your hand. And it is the opportunity to make today the best day ever. And you have the opportunity to do that because you can choose how you're going to move your life forward. You see, life doesn't go backwards. Life goes forward. And the way that you drive your life forward is through the decisions that you make. It's through the people that you hang out with. It's how you spend your time. And you have complete control over those things, which means you have control over how your life can move forward. And that's an amazing thing. And so today, at least in the United States right now, I know some of you have already rung in the new year. It is the last day of the year. And it is my favorite holiday of the year because I love endings and beginnings. I think there's nothing more powerful than ending something except for the power of beginning something. And so you've got this incredible opportunity to say, thank you, 2018. Next, what are we going to create? And so if you are part of the program that we're running right now called Mindset Reset, you know what we're talking about. If you're bumping into this video either today or at some point in the future, this is very relevant to your life in this moment because today has a ton of power. This could be literally one of the most powerful days of your life because you could make a decision today that changes everything. And that is the power of making, I'm talking in circles. So I see so many things going on. I'm starting to get distracted. If you could see my point of view. And so that's one of the coolest things about life, about being a human being, is that if you're watching this video, I want you to consider something. You're better off than billions of other people. Let's just start with that fact right there. You have access to the internet. You have access to some form of technology that's allowing you to even view a video that I made. You have the brain power to process what I'm saying. And the fact that you have those 3 things means literally that you are better off than billions of other people that you're sharing this planet with. So let's start right there. The second thing is that since you can watch this, or you can read the captions in the closed captions, or you can listen to what I'm saying, it means that you have the ability to make decisions. It means you have the ability to process information, which means you have the ability to change the decisions that you are making, which will change the way that your life turns out.
And so you have an opportunity today to do something that will make a huge difference for the rest of your life. Because, here's the other thing that's been very apparent to me this year. None of us are guaranteed to die of old age. There are many of you that are watching that will either lose a loved one in 2019, or you might even end your own life, not on purpose, but through an accident or through disease or through something tragic that happens. You are not guaranteed a long life. And that is why it is so important that you wake the heck up and you start to take the time that you have very, very seriously. That you stop hanging out with people that bring you down, that you stop thinking things that you were trained to think from your past that drag you down, that you stop looking at the world in a negative way and you start choosing the kind of mindset that you want to have that's going to help you be happier and more satisfied with this one life that you have. And so if I could implore you to do one thing today that will materially change the rest of your life, it is to make a decision to have a more positive mindset. It is to make a decision to get rid of the old stories that you have about yourself that limit what's possible, both in what you feel and in what you accomplish in your life. Let that sink in for a minute. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. None of us are guaranteed next year. And you have the ability to make the most out of every day that you are given from this moment forward. And that's the gift of life, frankly, that you get to choose whether you want to suffer through it or whether or not you want to make the small changes to how you think and to who you hang out with and to what you're doing with your time so that you're actually happy. That's the opportunity of your life. And I am begging you to start by resetting your mindset, because you don't realize this yet, but you've got a ton of garbage that you're carrying from the past that is deeply and profoundly affecting your ability to move forward. You have stories about yourself that no longer serve you, but that you still serve up every single day in your life. You have opinions about what's possible based on things that have happened in the past that are no longer relevant or true. And if you continue to think negative things, it's going to dramatically impact the quality of your life, whether or not you enjoy it and whether or not you actually make your dreams come true. And that's where doing a mindset reset comes in. So the way that we're going to start this is you can't change anything until you fully acknowledge where you are. And where you are in this moment is you're the oldest you've ever been. You're the smartest you've ever been because you're the most experienced that you've ever been. You are probably the most broken in some ways because you've experienced a lot of hurt and pain and failures. You're the most powerful because you've experienced the most hurt, the most pain, and the most failure. And you're the most loved. Even if you've faced rejection, the people that are surrounding you love you deeply. And when you start from that place and you have the compassion and you have the wisdom to check in and really identify the lessons that you've learned in 2018, you can say, thank you, 2018, next. And you can start from a place that's really powerful. It's incredibly normal when you stop and pause and assess how you feel about your own life and the state of it. It's incredibly normal for you to rank it low because most of us walk around with a very negative viewpoint about our own lives. That's number one. And that's a mindset and a perspective that we are going to change. Number two, one of the things that has helped me a lot when I get into moments in my life where I get present to disappointment, where I feel very sad, where I start to beat myself up over where I'm at in my life versus where I thought I would be. Specifically, what comes to mind is when I was facing bankruptcy and I was 40 years old and we, had 3 kids and I thought I should be in a different place in my life. And thinking and judging my current state against where I thought I would be, it made me sink even lower. And so what you're experiencing is very normal. The fastest way to stop beating yourself up, the fastest way to stop feeling regret over where you're at in your life right now is to literally say to yourself, I did the best I could. I did the best I could, because guess what? If you could have done more, you would have. And so if you literally just accept where you are, you're not feeling connected, you're not where you wanted to be, you're disappointed with how your life has turned out up until this moment, that's okay. But the first thing that you need to do to free yourself of that negativity is to say, hey, if I was capable of doing more, I would have. I remember there was a moment in time where, this is a really stupid example, but there was a moment in time where a lot of our friends started buying bigger houses or joining private clubs, or they were able to take their families on very expensive vacations. And that was just something that was not a possibility for me and Chris at the time. And I remember spending years beating myself up, years comparing myself to the people that had nicer clothes, nicer cars, nicer watches, nicer vacations. And it wasn't until I said to myself, well, if I could have afforded those things, I would have bought them, maybe. If I could have afforded to join the club, I might have. I couldn't afford to do it. And there's a massive amount of freedom that comes when you just stop beating yourself up and you acknowledge that if you could have changed it sooner, you would have. But here's what's cool. Once you say that, now you can change it now. And that's what this program's about. So cool to feel the sadness, okay and normal to feel the disappointment. And then say to yourself, hey, I am where I am. If I could have done more, I would have. And now it's time to move on, because guess what? You can do more. You signed up for this program. You're taking your life and the things that you want to change about it very seriously. And the skills that we're going to teach you are going to help you. They're going to help you free yourself from the mental jail. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you spend the next year, which many of you were going to, you were going to spend the next year telling yourself, my life sucks. I should have done something sooner. You are going to spiral in your own head as you beat yourself up over and over and over again. And that's got to stop. The reason why you haven't changed your life to date, you want to know why? It's because your mindset has blown. It's because you live up here. You don't live out in the world, you live up here. And up until this moment, up here has been a very negative place. And I guarantee you, if you were to put your own thoughts in someone else's mind, you know what you would say to me? Well, there's no way in hell Mary would lose that weight if she thought the things that I thought, because I'm constantly saying to myself, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not capable, I should have done it last year, why didn't I do this sooner? The more you think like that, the more stuck you're going to stay. And so that's why it's critical to acknowledge that the reason why you haven't changed sooner and the reason why your life is in the state that it's in is because of how you think. How you think is stopping you from taking action. You're convinced that you're not good enough. You're convinced that it's too late. You're convinced that other people are going to judge you. And I'm here to tell you it's total baloney. Today, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about the powerful connection between your mindset and your morning routine. And I'm going to give you an assignment at the end of this training. Tomorrow, we're going to build on this. So this entire week, what we're going to be talking about are the components to your morning, because your mindset and having a powerful mindset and being deliberate about what you're going to think about and what you're not going to think about, it begins the moment you wake up. And believe it or not, how you wake up, not when, but how you wake up, and the first few things that you do in the morning will dictate your mood for the rest of the day, which based on science is going to impact your productivity, and it's going to impact how you feel about your life. And it will also impact your mindset for the rest of the day. And that's why now that we've done in days 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we've done foundational training. You've learned a tremendous amount about how your brain works, about your default network, about how to be a deliberate thinker. You've spotted your limiting beliefs. You've learned how to think this, not that. You've started the skill and the practice of the skill. Remember, it's a process, not an event, to be a positive thinker. You've started practicing, catching your limiting beliefs and swapping from that default way of viewing the world and thinking about yourself and choosing deliberate thoughts. Now let's talk about physical habits that you can adopt that are very simple, that will be life-changing. because they will impact your ability to be in control of what you're thinking and to be deliberate. And that begins with how you wake up. So let me talk about the morning. You can think about your morning routine and whether or not you even have one in the exact same way that we think about the brain. You're either defaulting to something that you've always done that may no longer serve you, or you're getting deliberate and choosing to do something that's more positive and powerful because you deserve it. And that starts with your morning routine. So if you're the kind of person where the alarm goes off and you hit the snooze, and then the alarm goes off again and you hit the snooze, and eventually you roll out of bed and you step into your day and you maybe drink a big dark cup of coffee and you skip breakfast and you skip exercise and you're tired. If that's how you start your day, your mindset is going to be impacted by that. If your alarm goes off and you immediately reach for your phone and you start scrolling through Instagram while you're in bed and looking at Facebook, and you are putting all kinds of stuff in your brain that triggers FOMO, that triggers insecurity, that triggers anxiety, that is going to impact your mindset for the rest of the day. And so starting tonight, I want you to take control and be more deliberate about your habits in the morning. And what we're going to do this week is we are going to build, based on science, the most powerful morning routine that you could possibly have. Sorry, I'm just moving this around so that the Instagram channel is brighter. The most powerful morning routine that you could possibly have based on science. It's super simple. It will help you become a more deliberate and positive thinker. And I'm going to walk you through step by step. And you're going to be doing this with more than 230,000 people around the world. So what is the assignment tonight? The assignment tonight is very simple, and you're going to hate it. You're totally able to do this, and most of you are not going to. You're going to let your limiting beliefs and your default mode of thinking stop you from making this simple change. And the thing that I want you to do tonight, this is your assignment. This smartphone right here, I don't want it anywhere near your bedroom. Your assignment is when you go to bed tonight, you are to plug your smartphone in outside of your bedroom. If you live in a studio apartment, put it on the other side of the room. I don't want this phone anywhere near where you sleep. And there's a simple reason why. You're addicted to it. And if it's next to you while you're sleeping, as soon as you wake up, without even thinking, the default mode of your brain will mindlessly reach for this, and you will lie in bed and you will look at your phone. And when you do that, you are putting in garbage into your brain before you even get out of bed. If you wake up anxious, if you wake up overwhelmed, if you wake up feeling like you're losing some imaginary race, if you wake up and you feel dread, if you wake up and feel negative or exhausted, I'm telling you, this is the reason why. And if you want to have a positive mindset this year, and you deserve to, then you also have to get very deliberate about your habits and about your morning routine in particular, because how you wake up matters. How you wake up determines your mood. How you wake up determines on your phone. Hold on, IG is pausing a lot. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Yikes. All right, hold on a second, IG. I'm getting a lot of, let's get on Wi-Fi. Rendezvous. Let's see if that works. Looks like I'm on. Let's go back to Instagram. Okay, let's see if that works. Is that better, Mandy? Thank you for your patience, by the way. Normally, our streams are not as spotty, but when we started this program, I knew that I was going to be traveling 24 out of the 35 days that we're broadcasting live, and tech can be a challenge. And so for those of you that have been hanging in there on Instagram, if it's spotty, jump over to Facebook Live, jump over to YouTube, jump over to Twitter. We're streaming on all 4 platforms at once. And we will also email you a link to this video, which is one of the reasons why, if you haven't yet, sign up for melrobbins.com/mindset reset, because we curate all this information for you and we tee it up for you every day. So thank you for your patience as I am broadcasting from my parents' place. My mother's 70th birthday is tomorrow. And for those of you that are just tuning in because the stream has been dicey, we're talking about the powerful connection between your mindset and your morning routine. In fact, I would say it's not even powerful, it's critical. You cannot have a positive, in control mindset if you don't have control of your mornings. And it makes a lot of sense from a common sense standpoint, right? If you wake up and you're behind the ball, and if you wake up and you've got your phone in your face and you're not even out of bed yet, and you're looking at everybody's perfect life on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter, or you're reading the news and getting stressed out, you're absolutely, positively not going to start your day off right. So the assignment that I have for you is a very simple one, and it's one that you're going to be tempted to ignore. Do not ignore this. Tonight, when you go to bed, you are to put your phone as far away from your bed as you possibly can. If you have a bedroom, get your phone charging outside of your bedroom. Turn the vibration off, and you can turn the ringer on. And here's why. I know many of you are single parents. I know many of you have jobs where people need to get a hold of you. Instagram is reconnecting again, so I don't know what to make of this. I apologize for the feed on Instagram, everybody. But if you start your day by looking at this, your mind is hijacked and you're going to be playing catch up all day long. I want to give your brain a fighting chance to be deliberate. Tonight, what I want you to do is sleep without your phone. Plug your phone in outside of your room. And then when you get up, you're going to notice something. You're going to notice that you automatically reach for your phone. Your phone's not going to be there. You see, we're setting a trap. We're setting a trap so that you don't fall into the default mode of laying in bed and looking at that thing. I want to give you a chance to catch your thoughts. I want to give you a chance to do a couple things in the morning based on science that will give you control over your day, that will boost your mood, and that will help you develop a much more deliberate and positive mindset. Danielle from Facebook, I love routines as well, but what if you let go of your routine? Can you still embrace yourself and the day? I'm not sure I understand the question. I love routines as well. I think that yes, you can, if what you're basically saying is you have a morning where you don't do your normal routine and now it's noon and you realize, my gosh, I've spent the morning in a negative mindset. Can you catch yourself? Absolutely. You absolutely at any moment during the day can catch negative beliefs. You can catch limiting beliefs. You can catch yourself when you default to the negative things that you've trained yourself to think. And you can 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in 5 seconds flat. You can switch to a more positive belief. Absolutely. You can change your attitude like that. No question. You can put the force fields up if you feel yourself getting sucked into somebody else's drama. What I'm trying to tell you is that while that's possible, and while you should do that all day, particularly as you are practicing the skill of having a positive mind, I am here to tell you, based on personal experience, that when you start to own your morning, and when you start to take your morning routine seriously as a habit that you develop that contributes to your mindset and your happiness and your sense of control, it will change your life. If you're concerned about anxiety, having a morning routine that I'm going to walk you through step by step this entire week, this is key to curing yourself of anxiety. And it begins the night before. So Betsy asked, is it better to prep the night before? Absolutely. So the night before, I always plug my phone into the kitchen, or I plug it into my closet. I turn off the alerts on my text messages. I turn off the buzzing, and I leave the ringer on in case there's some kind of emergency. My kids know that they should call me if they need to reach me. We have a daughter who's in college, and, kids are all over the place these days. My business partner knows, call me if you need to reach me. Do not text me. And that one habit has changed my mindset for the better. It's changed my life for the better, because when I wake up in the morning, I actually get out of bed. I don't scroll through my phone. And because my phone is nowhere near me, I don't even reach for it. I spend the first 30 minutes to an hour of my day before I even look at my phone, and it has been a game changer, both in my ability to cure my anxiety and in my ability to be deliberate about what I want, A, to be thinking about, and B, what I want to be focused on for this day. Tatiana on Instagram, I switch my phone to airplane mode or turn it off completely for the night. Is this okay or the equivalent? It's definitely okay, but I don't want it near your bed, because I don't even want you tempted to reach for this thing and to start scrolling through it. We live in a moment of time, here comes my father, where we need to have major boundaries with our phone. This right here, it's supposed to be a tool, but we have become the tool. Advertisers know that they can make money on your attention. So when you look at this, whether you're looking at your email or you're looking at Facebook or you're looking at social media, you are giving the world your most precious commodity, which is your attention. And so you're going to hear me hammer the fact that boundaries with this, essential for your mindset, essential for your happiness, essential for your success. Vicky from Twitter, why is morning routine so important? What 2 to 3 items should be a part of it? Why is the morning routine so important? Couple things. How you wake up has a scientifically proven impact on your ability to focus, on your happiness, and on your productivity all day. This is not something I've made up. This is well-established research. And I'm going to be explaining it to you in bite-sized pieces all week long. And so to preview it, we're going to be talking about this tomorrow morning. The 2 to 3 pieces of it are, for me, I wake up when the alarm goes off. And I'm going to explain the science why the snooze alarm is horrendous for your productivity. It actually impacts the way that your brain functions when you do it. We'll explain that in a training this week. I then get up, and for the first couple minutes of the day, I plan my day. And I have a particular process that I go through that leverages something from Harvard Business School called the progress principle. I have a mindfulness practice. That could be anything that you want. It could be gratitude journaling. It could be meditation. It could be 5 slow, deep breaths. It could be taking your dog outside for a walk. And then on mornings when I can, I have a micro exercise practice where I do planks for 5 minutes, or I do something to get my blood pumping on the mornings that I can. I do all that before I ever even look at my phone, because I put myself and my mindset first deliberately before I ever allow the world access to my mind. You do not want anybody to have access to what's going on up here until you've gotten deliberate about what you're thinking about first. So that's a preview, but I'm going to, as I promised, this was going to be bite-sized stuff. If you've already watched the first 10 minutes of this, you got the training for today, which is the powerful connection between your mindset and your morning routine. And your morning routine begins the night before, when you plug your phone outside of your bedroom and you go to bed without your phone anywhere near you. The other reason why that's important is we know based on research that the blue light on these things impacts your ability to fall into a deep sleep. Sleep is essential for you to have a healthy mindset. And also when you wake up, if this is next to you, 87% of adults sleep with their phones or next to their phones. And 33% of adults check email in the middle of the night. And so whether you're willing to admit that or not, we want to break your habit of giving the world access to your mind, and we want to make you more deliberate about how you are with your phone. And the reason why is it has a direct scientific researched impact on your mood and your mindset all day. I have time for just 1 or 2 more questions. If you have any other questions about this, seeing a ton of, but my phone is my alarm, I have kids. Do you see the excuses, everybody? What's more important? If you have kids, do exactly what I told you. Leave the ringer on. If your kids need you, they can call you. If your boss needs you, they can call you. And this is really important for your kids too. You know, there's a lot of research about kids and phones and how they're hugely addicted. And the thing about kids and phones, particularly phones in their bedroom when they're going to sleep at night, is that if you have teenagers are biologically hardwired to push away from their parents when they become teenagers. Their friends become their primary support group. They become the most important thing in their life. And kids feel an obligation to stay connected to their friends. And they feel an obligation that if I'm not available for my friends, that makes me not a good friend. And so to help your kids, you need to draw the boundaries for them. You need to tell them that they can't have their phone in the bedroom. You need to have a charging station in the kitchen, and you need to model these very healthy and mandatory boundaries with technology, period. And so I get it. Your kids need to reach you. No problem. Plug it into the closet, plug it into the bathroom, turn the ringer on. If there's an emergency, they can call you. Yes, you can use your phone as your alarm. Plug it into the bathroom, plug it into the closet, plug it into the kitchen. Because if the alarm is going off outside of your bedroom or several paces away from your bed, guess what you're doing when the alarm goes off? You're getting up. And tomorrow, I'm going to explain the science behind why you need to get up when the alarm rings and why you should not hit the snooze alarm. I don't hit the snooze alarm because I understand the neurological impact that the act of snoozing has on your mindset, on your mood, and on your brain's ability to focus. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about tomorrow. The reason why you have to get up when the alarm rings. And it's not because it sounds like a good idea. It's because of the science behind how your brain works and what hitting the snooze button and drifting back to sleep for 15 minutes does to your mind. You're going to learn all about that tomorrow, and it is a game changer. So, Mandy and Danielle, do we have any other comments, questions, excuses? Give me the thumbs up if you're going to try this phone challenge. This is going to change your life. Try the phone challenge tonight. Give it one night. And I want you to notice as you do it, how drawn are you to your phone? How panicky are you that it's not near you? Do you feel anxious about it? When you wake up in the morning, are you immediately grabbing for it? I want you to notice the default mode that you have with this sucker right here. Because part of being deliberate and serious about being a healthy, happy, anxiety-free, positive, confident thinker is taking control and having boundaries between the world and your mind. And it's also having the assuredness that you can live without this thing. What is an anchor thought? An anchor thought is a extremely powerful and proven way for you to take control of what you're thinking about when your mind starts to spiral. And an anchor thought is any thought that makes you excited, happy, think positive emotions here. I'm going to give you examples, don't worry. An anchor thought is something that you have predetermined and planned in advance that you're going to go to in your mind and picture. This is like a form of visualization in a situation where normally you feel anxiety. And you're going to use this practice of having a predetermined anchor thought in situations that make you nervous or anxious to go to as a method to anchor yourself down, to calm down your body, and to take control of what you're thinking about in situations that normally make you anxious. So let me give you a couple examples of what an anchor thought is and why you want to do them before a situation. So you can use anchor thoughts for everything from anchoring yourself in a positive vision as you're getting out of bed and thinking about the day ahead. And instead of letting your worries, anxiety, overwhelm, and nerves about dealing with your boss or facing the conflict in your house or whatever it may be, hijack your mind, you're going to anchor yourself in something positive and exciting about today. And if you can't think of anything positive and exciting about today, I'm going to coach you through that. Don't worry. If you have anxiety about work, you're going to anchor down on a moment from your past or a moment that you're excited about in your future that made you happy or excited. If you have anxiety about school, I want you to think about a thing about school that you like. One person, one teacher, one moment in your past where you did really good because you put in the effort and you got a really good grade on a test, or you felt really excited about what you were learning. And your anchor thought is going to be, I'm so excited to feel that way again. I'm going to give you a very specific example now. So I use anchor thoughts to deal with. I used to be an incredibly nervous flyer. I was convinced that if I got on a plane, I was going to die in a plane crash. And for the entire week leading up to getting on a plane, I would be nervous about it. I would be thinking about it. I would be thinking about sending, like if we were going away for the holidays, I would be thinking about sending the presents ahead via the mail in case the plane crashed. I'd be doing all kinds of like I was like a nutcase about this. And so the way that I started using anchor thoughts in order to change the way that I thought and felt on a plane is this. I would think about, before I got on a plane, I would think about something that I was excited to do once I got to the place that I was flying to. So for example, tomorrow I am flying to Vegas, and I'm going to think about a particular restaurant that I love in Vegas, and I'm going to think about what I'm going to order when I get to that restaurant, and I'm going to think about how delicious it's going to taste, and this person, my friend Mo, that I'm going to see. And so I've got my anchor thought, which makes me happy and excited, what I'm going to do when I get to Vegas. And when I get on that plane, and if I start to get nervous and my stomach starts to rumble and my body starts to feel anxious and my thoughts start to spiral, I immediately start saying to myself, I am so excited to get to Vegas and to go to that restaurant and to see my friend Mo. And notice I'm closing my eyes because I'm visualizing it. And I'm visualizing how happy I'm going to be when I see her. And that very specific, positive, excited, happy visualization of what I'm going to do when I get to Vegas, it settles my body, having that in my mind. It focuses my mind on something positive. And I, by using an anchor thought to weigh me down in terms of weigh down what I'm thinking about, and direct my body sensations to be positive, something crazy happens. When the plane's flying and we hit turbulence, and normally I'd be like, oh my God, we're about to die. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? I interrupt that anxiety response and that worry, and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, using the 5-second rule, and awakening my prefrontal cortex. And then I literally just go, I'm so excited to be at that restaurant tonight to see my friend Mo. And here's what happens in my body. By taking control of my thinking, I change my body state. I've directed my thoughts. I've won the mental game. And my mind goes, oh, yeah, she's excited. And here's what's really interesting about it. Normally, if I were on a plane and I got nervous, the plane starts to bounce, right? So what happens? Immediately your mind starts to worry. Then your body starts to feel anxious because your mind is so busy worrying about whether or not the plane makes it. And then because your body is now starting to get anxious and you got a pit in your stomach and your armpits are starting to sweat and your heart is starting to race, the body sensations that were caused by your mind thinking worries are now getting worse, and now the worries get worse. So it becomes this self-fulfilling thing. And you actually make yourself miserable. You cause the anxiety from your thoughts. And then your body, in the anxiety response, then causes your thoughts to get even worse. And it becomes worse and worse and worse until you're hyperventilating or convinced you're going to die, or you start crying, or whatever it may be. You can interrupt that and win the mental game and take control. I'm not kidding you, by deciding to. And you can say, I'm 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to think about dying right now. And first of all, it's not going to help. I mean, I'm not flying the plane, so I'm going to take control of what I'm thinking about so I'm not miserable as we're flying. And drop in the anchor thought. Anchoring you down. Even the word anchoring has a strength to it. Instead of your thoughts drifting all over the place, you're anchoring down and you're making your mind do exactly what you want it to do. And what I want it to do is to think about what I'm excited about when I get to Vegas. Because here's the thing about it. If I go to that restaurant and I see my friend Mo, obviously the plane made it. And so one of the other things that's powerful about an anchor thought is because your anchor thoughts relate to what you're doing, it makes sense to your brain, so your brain believes it. So going back to the example of work, think of a moment when you were proud. School, think of a moment when you were proud. And tell yourself, I'm excited to feel that way again, or I'm excited to do well on this test, or I'm excited to learn what I'm going to learn, or I'm excited to have this conversation with my professor, or get this test over with and feel good again. And because the anchor thought that you're creating is related to what you're doing, it is going to make sense to your brain, your body will settle, you're going to get control of your mind, and that is how you win the mental game. You notice when your thoughts drift, you notice when the worries are starting, and you, boom, cut it off with an anchor thought. Let me give you another example, and then we're going to go into questions. Because what I want you to do for every single trigger you have, we had you yesterday in video 14 go through your day and come up with every single trigger that triggers your thoughts to spiral to the negative. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the power and the science of anchor thoughts, something that we can think of that you can anchor down on that is positive, happy, exciting, encouraging, about somehow related to the thing that's triggering you. And I'm going to walk you through some examples. I want to give you another one, though, for those of you that have kids that are watching. So when my son, our son was younger, he used to be completely anxious about sleepovers. There was just something about sleepovers that really freaked him out. And so before sleepovers, we would come up with an anchor thought that was related to the sleepover itself. So what are you excited to do in the morning? Now, notice I said the morning. The reason why we would always do the mornings is because he wasn't nervous about starting the sleepover. He was nervous about completing it. So we came up with an anchor thought that was about what he was excited to be doing in the morning. Were they going to make pancakes? Were they going to lay around and play Fortnite? And that anchor thought about what made him excited about what he was going to do in the morning, it was his go-to. So as we were driving over and he'd start to look at me and go, I don't know, Mom, I'm a little nervous. I'm like, great, let's go to the anchor thought. And he's like, okay, here we go. I'm really excited to have pancakes because she makes great pancakes. Great, that's great. And then all of a sudden his body sensations would drop down. The other thing that I would recommend that you do with kids is come up with the anchor thought for all the things that trigger them, and also come up with a plan B. So a plan B is, okay, so you've got your anchor thought, my dear. You're excited about the pancakes. If it's 9 o'clock at night and you start to get that rumbling feeling in your stomach and you start to get worried about being at the sleepover, no problem. You're going to use your anchor thought, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm so excited for pancakes in the morning. And that's going to settle your stomach, and it's also going to distract your thoughts and direct them and anchor them. And that should start to take care of the rumbling feelings in your stomach, and that should start to take care of the things that are making you nervous. And then what we're going to do is you're also going to have a plan B. So with our son, for example, and this is important with anxiety, always go to the worst case scenario and plan out, okay, so let's say the worst case scenario happens. Let's say you decide you can't make it through the night. No problem. Just call me and I'll come get you. So that you're taking away worries. If you have to talk to your boss and you got your anchor thought, you're really excited. Here's another thing. If you obsess about getting fired, you obsess about being made wrong, come up with like your plan B, which is like, okay, I've got my thing. I'm so excited to go in there. I'm so excited to actually say what I need to say. I'm so excited for the situation to change. I'm so excited to make a difference with my work. And my ultimate plan B, let's say I get fired tomorrow for speaking what I speak. What's the first thing I'm going to do? What's my plan if that happens? I'm going to collect my stuff. I'm going to say goodbye to my friends. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to look for a job. That's what's going to happen. Because if you go to the worst case scenario and you make a plan for what you're going to do, it's another way to sort of backstop your mind from catastrophizing. I'm not only going to prove to you that a human being can change, I'm going to give you a couple simple things that you can do if you really have something that you want to change, whether it's changing your personality, changing your mindset, changing how you show up in the world, changing how you treat yourself, changing your mental health. I profoundly believe that any human being can change. That's what I profoundly believe. I'm here with Christopher Robbins, my husband of 25 years. Chris, do you believe that a human being can change?
Yeah, I do. I think that...
That's new for you. What I'm going to do is just look straight ahead.
It is a...
I don't want you to look at the camera, just look straight ahead. Hi, everybody.
I don't know that I necessarily have always not believed you can change, but I'm not sure I've invested as much time and energy of late thinking about the level to which one can change. And of course, that's what's prompted this conversation, is just my brother and I talking about what our childhood was like, what we grew up with, what our dad was like. And
which was what?
He wasn't, he had a good sense of humor, but he wasn't real, like, vivacious and
he was not very loving. He was caught up in himself.
Yeah, he was definitely caught up in himself, and like, he wasn't a stick in the mud, but he was a little down.
Okay, hold on a second. I love your dad, and your dad had OCD.
Definitely.
He was way more concerned about the house being in order than hanging out with you guys. And he was way more concerned about what he was working on and his friends than he was about you.
Yeah, true.
And you have used the words emotionally neglected.
Yes.
That your emotional needs were not met by your dad. And in your father's defense, in everybody's parents' defense, most of our parents did not have their own emotional needs met by your grandparents, so they have no idea what they're doing. Now, that doesn't make it right that you didn't have your needs met, or that you were abused, or that you were neglected, or abandoned, or whatever. But adults and human beings just repeat patterns of behavior that are modeled for them. And I think it's really important to put a stake in the ground and say, I 1,100% believe you can change, every human being can change, and you could be the one that actually breaks the patterns that have been handed down from generation after generation after generation in your family. So you have an opportunity to not only reclaim or claim your life as your own, and claim your personality as your own, and claim your future as your own, you also have the opportunity to break generational patterns of trauma and behavior and parenting styles and all of that stuff, addiction, based on conscious and deliberate choices, decision making, and most importantly, personal development, right?
How important do you think it is, like, to what depth do you need to go to understand the patterns of behaviors that you were exposed to or modeled to in order to, like, first and foremost, how important is that before you then elect to make the changes that you...
I don't understand your question.
Meaning, like, how much do you study your own mother or father, for
I don't think you need to study them
You
at
don't?
all. At all. No. So do you guys realize that you're always changing? That every cell in your body is brand new over the course of 7 years? That you can change the neural pathways in your brain in real time? You can change the filter in your mind in real time? You can, through practice, you can practice new behaviors and new responses to triggers. And this is so revolutionary. It's incredible. What if your environment is toxic? That's an excellent question. So if your environment is toxic, you need to do a couple things. I mean, it's super simple for people to go, you should just leave your environment. But if you're a minor and you're living in a toxic household, you might not be able to. If you need money and you're in a toxic work environment and you can't just quit because you won't be able to pay your bills.
Half the time you don't even necessarily...
Okay, well, I read about this in my new book. Well, hold on a second. Hold on. Yes, you do know you're in a toxic. You want to know how you know? Oh, look at this car, guys. Hi. Look at him. Isn't that kind of cool? You want to know how you're in a toxic environment or relationship? It's very simple. Would you high five the person or boss that you work for? Authentically, would you high five them? Not high five them in the hopes that they like you, but would you high five the relationship or the job that you're in because you love it and you believe in it and you want to celebrate it? If the answer is no, you've basically got a couple choices. You can either change how you show up and hope it changes the dynamic, or you can make requests about what's not working and hope the person is motivated to change, or you can get the out. Like, that's it. Those are your three choices right there. There's no other choices. I haven't lost anybody that I love. So I would not say what I'm about to say if somebody that I loved had died in this pandemic. But I have found the great pause that the last 2 months have forced me to take to be the greatest gift that I have received in the last decade. My kids have been home. I have been off the road. I have been forced to slow down. I have been reminded of what actually matters: your health, your family, your friends, what you're doing to take care of your mind and your body and your spirit, and making sure that you do something with the time that you have that you really, really enjoy. And the other thing that it's really made me stop and think about is making sure that I'm having fun, that my whole life isn't just work. And it's made me really start to think about the fact that I don't want to go back to the life that I was living before the pandemic hit. How many of you feel that way? That this has been a gigantic mental perspective switch reset button that has, boom, hit you really hard. I want to know in the comments, what is it that you, with this new perspective that the pandemic has given you, what is it that you want to change in your life coming out of this? I want to start seeing. I see people saying this has been a wake-up call. I see people saying, yes, this has been a huge shift in my perspective. I see Brianna saying, I want to travel less for work. What do you want? Kelly says she's had a mental switch. Kelly, what has this pandemic given you in terms of the gift? Heather's saying, I want to ask myself, what do I really want to do? Kim says, I don't want to go back to the rat race. Brock says, I want to start the year excited about it. I see somebody saying, Larissa says a new business. Megan says, I want more boundaries.
Tara says, I want to have more fun. What is it that you want to change, given the gift that this pandemic has given you in terms of shifting your perspective? Dinky says, value my friends and family. Jilla says, take care of my mental health. Spend more time with family. What do you want to change, everybody? Seriously, what do you want to change about your life? Is it a relationship? Is it that you have had the time to take care of yourself in small ways and that's giving you greater control in your life? Do you want to change your job coming out of this? Do you want to launch a business coming out of this? Do you want to change your timeline for achieving your goals? Is there some project that you want to take on? Because what you're going to hear me say over and over again is that the single most important project you could ever work on is yourself. And the greatest gift that any challenge will ever give you is a perspective shift and the realization that you can face hard things, that you can survive hard things, and that in learning more deeply about yourself and about what you value through the challenges in life, you are going to be handed a moment where you can make a decision. You hear me say all the time, you're one decision away from a different life. Changing your life does not take motivation. Motivation is garbage. Changing your life takes discipline. The discipline to make a decision to change. You see, you need three things if you want to come out of this pandemic and truly change your life for the better. So many of you do not want to go back to the life that you were living. You see something greater for you. And what you're going to need in order to make that shift is you need clarity. You need the clarity to write the change down. And I want you to start right now. What in the comments? Let's get really clear. Terry wants to come out of this a healthier and better person. What is the clarity? Tell me the change that you want to make coming out of this. You got to have the clarity to write it down. That's number one. The second thing that you got to have in order to make a change happen is you've got to learn the skill of confidence, which is the ability to try something when you don't feel ready. You may not know how to do this change. I see advocate for myself. I see more physical movement. I see I want to change my job. I want to start a business. I want to earn more money. I want to travel less. I want my work to have meaning. I want to get out of an abusive relationship. I want to help people in need. I want to make sure that I continue to keep the promises that I've been keeping, getting up on time, working out every day, working on my relationship. This is fantastic because you're having a moment of clarity. And when you start to write it down, you are starting to develop the confidence and the knowing that you deserve to have this change happen. And then finally, what do you need in order to really change your life? Because it's not motivation, everybody, it's discipline. Discipline to make small promises, keep small promises, discipline to take small actions when you feel afraid, the discipline to find the courage to push yourself forward when you don't know how. That's how you change your life. Just those three things: clarity, confidence, courage. That's all you need. And that's why you got me in your life, because I'm here to push you. I'm here to encourage you. And I love seeing what you want to change. That, oh, I see you need help building confidence. No problem. I got you covered. Because confidence isn't something that you feel. Confidence is a skill. Confidence is the willingness to try. Because it's through the act of trying, through the act of simply writing down what's the change that you want to make right there in the comments. Just writing it down and trying it out, trying out writing what that feels like, that's going to show you that you have the ability to start to express the things that you want. And that's the first step, to claim these things that you think about. So for those of you, more than 100 of you, who have written to me in the last week and who have said, I've had a huge perspective shift thanks to this pandemic. And there are some major changes I want to make in my life. I want to start a women's group. I want to end this relationship that I'm in. I want to stop bashing myself all the time. I want to launch that business I've been talking about. All of the things that you've put on hold. Now is the time to change. So many of you asked me, is it the right time to change your job after a pandemic like this? Absolutely. Because if you don't hear the clarity that's inside you, if you don't quiet the noise and tune in to hear, if your instincts, if your wisdom, if your knowing, if inside of you, you hear yourself saying, I got to get a new job. I got to get out of this relationship. I don't want to live where I live anymore. I want to be near the water. I want to be in the mountains. I want to be out of the city. You have to tune into that stuff. And then it's about confidence and courage to take action. That's it. The path between where I'm at and where you want to get to is the same. It is a brick path. And it is comprised of a ton of little bricks that come together to take me forward. And so when you think about a goal or you think about a dream as a million little bricks that come together and lay a path forward, that's the way visually you can break down your goals. And so for me, you know what that one brick could be today? It could be asking Chris or my brother-in-law for the phone number of the person. Not even making the call, people. I'm talking about breaking it down to one brick. So I will get that phone number and I will write it down in my little red book, or I will write it down in my 5-second journal. And that way I will have the number. And guess what the brick is going to be tomorrow? The brick tomorrow is going to be to call the guy, right? And make an appointment. And then the next brick might be to read a little bit. And so the key is going brick by brick to make it stick. Because if you think you can lay the whole path between where you're at and where you want to go right now, you're nuts. And it's all that thinking, that overthinking, that thinking too big. Thinking big is about dreams. Thinking big is about goals. Thinking big is about your heart and your soul and figuring out what you want. Then once you do that and you think big and you see where you're headed, boom, you got to come back and you got to go brick by brick to make that vision stick. You got to go brick by brick to make the action stick. You got to go brick by brick to lay that pathway forward and to keep going. And let me tell you something, I don't care how busy you are, I don't care how tired you are, I don't care how much there is to do to make this big dream forward. You have time to lay one brick a day. You really do. You really do. And this is the secret, everybody. This is the secret to everything. It's to understanding that there is no timeline to getting your dreams done. All there is to do is to allow your heart and soul to dream big, to see the path forward, and then to pull yourself into the moment every day and have the discipline to be deliberate, to lay one brick on that path. That's it. And to keep reminding yourself that everything that you're learning on the way as you lie bricks down and you move forward a little at a time is helping you build the path. And there will be times that you start to lay bricks in this direction and you realize, whoa, wait a minute, I'm going over here and my dream is over there. I guess I better lay bricks over here and head back in the direction. Then you're going to go this way. That's great, because everything that you learned over here is going to be exactly what you needed in order to be doing what your big dream is. I can give you another example. This one is like, boom, front and center of my mind. So as many of you know, we're launching a daytime talk show. The Mel Robbins Show is coming to syndicated television September 16th, nationwide this fall with Sony Pictures. Tribune is our launch group. We have independent station owners all over the country that we've partnered with. This is going to be so cool. And the closer that I get to launching the show, my business partners and I, Mandy, Chris, and I, start to get really nervous. And of course, we're doing something big, right? And you know the path to becoming a daytime syndicated talk show host, this is a path that I've been laying brick by brick for 30 years. No joke. No joke. And when I think about all of the bricks and all of the lessons that I have put in place, that my partners have put in place, all the failures that have led me to this big dream of having a talk show, every one of those bricks is necessary. And let me tell you a story real quick. So on Monday, Mandy, Chris, and I were with our executive producer, Mindy, and Andrea from Sony Pictures, and we were in New York City, and we got to see the home of the new Mel Robbins show. And it is at CBS Broadcasting Center in New York on 57th Street. It is a historic building. We are in the largest, you guys, the largest soundstage in Midtown Manhattan. This is no rinky-dink little operation. The Mel Robbins show is coming onto the scene with first-class, premium amazingness. So we walk into the soundstage, right? And it is this massive room with 25-foot ceilings. And if you want to see a picture of it, by the way, our newsletter goes out today. More than 350,000 people read it every single day from around the world. If you're not on our newsletter list, you're missing out, and we're missing you. So go to melrobbins.com, and right on the homepage, you can sign up for our free newsletter. It only goes out once a week. We don't spam. We don't really sell anything. We just write a letter every week to you about everything we're learning. We send photos. It's really cool. And I have photos of the space. It's insane. It's 25-foot ceilings. It's massively huge. Over in the corner, is it Brian Gumbel?
Yes, Real Sports.
Brian Gumbel with Real Sports has his set. Holy cow, Brian Gumbel, I can't believe it. So as we walk in, and I see this massive space, and literally the scaffolding up 25 feet above, and 300 lights hanging from it, and wires everywhere, and this big open space. You know what I realized? Holy cow. Being a motivational speaker for the last 4 years, and being a part of events, literally hundreds of events, you guys, has prepared me for this moment, and not in the way that you think. I realized that what's going to happen when we build out this blank space is exactly what happens in every convention center in the world when somebody holds an event. You walk into a huge space, and you have to tent off a smaller space inside of it. And what you tent off is where the event takes place. And behind the tent, guess where that's the control room. That's where the tech folks are. That's where I wait. And I realized, holy cow, I've actually been training for this moment for 4 years by being in spaces just like this for events. And if I really think about it, most of the time that I speak, we've got at least 5,000 people in the audience. And every day I'm going to walk in here 175 times a year producing my own event. And there'll be 200 people in my audience. And we will have the curtains, just like we do at a regular event. And behind those curtains, it's not a big scary control room, that I was wigging myself out about. It's just my AV team. And the director, just like I have a director of the show, it's the exact same thing, only it's ours. And when I realized, holy cow, every single day for the last 5 years that I've shown up at an event with Mandy or with Chris or somebody from our team, we're laying a brick. We're laying a brick that takes us to the path of being able to walk into a new paradigm, which is daytime syndication, and understand that we're ready. We're ready because we've been laying it brick by brick by brick. And I didn't even realize that this is where it was heading. It's not that public speaking has made me ready. It's that being in these spaces at events has made me ready. And I realized, holy cow, I feel right at home in an environment like this. Awesome. And so will you. I want to try to summarize the steps to make sure that it's very clear, not only for me, forget about you guys. I want to make sure it's clear for me that first of all, it would be really smart of me to write down a long list of what I want in this next chapter of my life, for real, and the why. And you explained that in the example around legacy. So if what I'm really after is more peace, a hell of a lot more fun, and a greater impact with more ease, I need to unpack what does that actually mean.
Yes.
And get very clear about the why. And I know that the why has to do with more time with family, more time with friends, more time and space to do bigger thinking instead of racing around being busy.
Yeah.
The second thing that I got out of this is very like radical. And that is when the fear or the anxiety or the worry or the self-doubt, that little, like, we're going to talk about the negative bitch first before we talk about the whisper. The negative bitch in your head is just your ego trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And so when that anxiety comes up, or I wake up and I feel like that hot lava on my neck and my thoughts start to swirl, don't try to outrun it. Face the bitch and be like, all right, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, you think I'm going to be lonely on a mountain because I'm lonely in suburbia? You think I'm not going to have any friends there because I don't have friends here? Okay. You think I'm not going to be successful doing it there because I'm not like, oh, okay. And hear it. And then the way that you take the bitch and you flip her into your best friend is you say, what is this trying to warn me? What is this trying to coach me? What are the things that it's saying? Hey, if you're going to go do this, just know that you might feel lonely and that's okay. So what are you going to do about it? If you're going to go do this, just know that you should probably, reach out to friends that are doing podcasts from remote places. If you're going to do this, so that you know what steps to take. And it's in taking the steps forward to prepare for plan B.
Yeah.
So that you got a plan for when that stuff happens that is going to allow you to access the radical confidence, which feels radical in a moment where you're doubting yourself. And you just keep pushing forward and you do it over and over and over and over and over again. Because what's interesting is you also said this thing about the whisper, that the things that are meant for you and the things that are true begin as a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really start to hear the whisper, whether it's, I'm going to sign up for this program, even though it scares me, or I'm going to not have kids and sit down with my spouse, even though it scares me, or I'm going to, make a major life change and it scares me. As you start to hear the whisper, I think there's a pretty close period of time where that whisper turns into a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because she's like, hang on a minute, you're freaking ignoring me. Let me get my megaphone so that you don't.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
And then that last piece is making sure that you understand your belief, why you feel the way you do actually, Mel, because you even said your parents never moved out of the house that you were born in, correct? Your grandparents never did. So you have it seems like a belief system that holding on to the house that maybe your kids were brought up in is something and I don't want to speak for you, but maybe something you feel like you should do. Or maybe feel like it's something that you saw your parents do, and now you're actually breaking that pattern. And for me, it was the same. My grandparents, my mom, everyone ended up like basically thinking that I would be this stay-at-home wife, or I would be a mother. And in order for me to listen to the silence and break that, I had to say, oh, it's because I believed that this was what was going to happen. I never questioned it. So I don't know if you've ever questioned whether the house that you're in, whether it should be something that you should be in for the rest of your life, or if it was just a belief system you hold on to.
It's just a belief system I hold on to. Like, I know, just like you knew, at some point that whisper became the truth for you.
Right.
I know that it's the truth. And everybody that knows me well is literally like, I thought you would have sold that house like years ago, because like with the amount of stuff you're doing and like it just doesn't make sense for you to live there. And so like somebody else saw it in you.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, exactly. And now
because when I talk to you, and I saw other friends of ours last week because they were visiting Boston, and I was sort of going like in the beginning of the freaking Crest downfall. And it was Joel Marin and Kat. And Kat looks at me and she's like, wait, are we really having this conversation? You're like worried about like some place in Vermont, whether you're going to live in an apartment, whether you're going to feel like you're Mel fucking Robbins. What the fuck? And I'm like, you're right. I know how to do that. Why am I? Because I'm human. and because your ego comes in. And because if you keep running, this shit will catch up with you, which is why radical confidence is really about turning and facing it.
Yeah.
Instead of being afraid of it.
And then knowing that the path you choose to take in life will mean that you leave things behind. And that's where the mourning piece comes in. It's like, just because you're making a decision that's right for you shouldn't mean that you shouldn't embrace that you have to mourn the life that you're leaving behind, or the life you thought you were going to live. So maybe, Mel, for when you had your kids, and I, again, don't know, but maybe you're just like, this is the house that I'm going to bring them up in. And you've told yourself year after year after year that that's going to be the house. But now you've changed. Now your goals have changed. Now your life has changed. And now your reassessment of that isn't the same with a person who maybe first had those children.
Oh, I know what it is. You're giving me another breakthrough. Dude, I need to pay you for this.
Oh, I'm here for you. You're my bestie. You know that.
I literally feel like you just saved me. No offense to SSRIs, but I'm feeling like I'm like back. I'm feeling like the woman that crawled out of the crypt this morning, and my team had to like prop up and be like, oh God, Mel is not Mel today. That you have brought me back, woman. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.